Debate the member from Don Valley East.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the member for Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas for raising this critically important issue for Ontarians, for patients across the province. And I'd actually like to thank the members beside me, the member for Newmarket Aurora and Windsor Tecumseh, for articulating the strategies that the government is taking in order to address this crisis. And I'd like to make the argument today that this motion should be very simple for all of us to support, because it really only says two things. When you break it down, it literally says, number one, every Ontarian should have access to ambulance or paramedic emergency services. Is that something we can agree to? I think so. The second thing that it says is we should ensure necessary funding to ensure that when someone calls 911, there will be an ambulance crew ready to respond. When there isn't, that's called a code zero. So all it's saying is there should be adequate funding so that when you call 911, there will be an ambulance crew available to respond. Is that something that we can agree to? It doesn't say what route we have to get there. It doesn't define what necessary funding is. It doesn't say that we have to repeal Bill 124. I would argue that we do, but you can agree to this motion without repealing Bill 124. Without doing anything, you can say that the plans that you just presented are adequate and necessary funding. And in a separate debate, we can say, well, the opposition members disagree with that. But this motion does not define what necessary funding is. And so all we have to do is say that we believe that every Ontarian should have access to ambulance or paramedic emergency services, and that there should be necessary funding. That is literally all this motion says. It's nonpartisan. So then why raise this motion at all? And I think the reason for that is we do need to reaffirm these principles, because right now across our province, every single day, there are countless code reds, blacks, code or level zeros. There are a million different names for it. But it always means the same thing, that someone is ill or someone is dying, and when they call 911, there is no one there to help them. Does this chamber want to help those people? This motion is simply reaffirming that principle. There's no reason for us to disagree to it. Reaffirming that principle is important because in August, our ambulance offload times were the worst they've ever been since 2008. Do we all want to fix that? We do. This motion does not lay blame on anyone. This summer, the last period for which I could find data, there were over 1,000 paramedic vacancies across this province. Do we want to fix that? Of course we do. How? The motion doesn't say how. But we should all be united in wanting to fix that. I want you to be successful in the community paramedicine program that you spoke of. People love it. I agree with you. But we need to have enough paramedics. Can we all agree that we want our government to fund enough paramedics? All of us can agree to that. That's all this motion says. Paramedics right now are burnt out. They have inadequate mental health supports. Oftentimes they're resorting to nonprofit agencies. There's one that reached out to my riding called Boots on the Ground. They could use some more funding. But again, this motion doesn't mandate that they do get that. Paramedics are underpaid. Orange, which is the critical care ambulance service, the men and women who literally land on highways and in fields to rescue people in their moments of most dire need, who are at the highest risk of dying in crashes. It happened a few years ago just outside of Moose Factory. Should they be adequately funded? Yes. How should they be adequately funded? This motion doesn't say it. But we can all agree that they should. Our patients and paramedics deserve the best that we can give them. I'm aware of countless examples right now of people across the province who have had heartbreaking stories. In one case, there's a critically ill patient somewhere up north. I don't want to say exactly where for patient confidentiality. Called 911. There are no ambulances. So a fire truck came and put the person in the family car. Do we want that to happen? No, of course not. All this motion says is that everyone deserves access to paramedicine.
Further debate?